Well, greetings and salutations, everyone. Our team is made up by my partner, Héctor Benito Calamaco Santos, and myself, Carlos Miguel Martínez Ávila. And today, we're going to talk about a very interesting theme that is the recovery and restoration of soil and water. But we're going to talk more about this next. Let's start with an index. As you can see, um, in the kickoff, we can see some basic concepts like what is water pollution and what is soil pollution. Because without them, we cannot keep going, understand the next things that are kind of more complicated, like the anthropogenic activities that cause this, the mitigation methods, and the main focus of this presentation, that is the recovery and restoration of water, the recovery and restoration of soil, some projects that apply these concepts, a conclusion, of course, and our reference. Well, now, what is water pollution? All of us have kind of an idea of this, but let's settle down a concept. Water pollution occurs when harmful substances contaminate a stream, a river, a lake, or any body of water, degrading water quality and rendering water to humans or the environment toxic. Now, what is soil pollution? Well, it is an affliction which appears when a concentration of pollutants on the surface becomes so high that it harms land biodiversity and endangers health, particularly through food. Because most of us, well, I think that any living being uh, takes their food from the soil because waters take the nutrients from there. Then, for example, us humans eat those crops and it enters our body.
Well, currently there is a great variety of aquatic and terrestrial bodies in the world that have been degraded by human activity. The consequences of these activities having caused loss of biodiversity in different ecosystems in this world due to the overexploitation of resources affecting the structure, dynamics, and species present in these areas. Next, please. We know that the anthropogenic activities that cause this damage are fundamental to our daily lives today. So if we cannot eliminate them, how can we mitigate them? Next, please. Well, the restoration projects of aquatic bodies are interventions whose purpose is to revert the damage produced to an ecosystem. The objective is to recovery, managing it ecologically, eliminating as close as possible to the initial state, prior to disturbance and degradation thanks to the human activities. Next, please. Well, on the other hand, in places where good soil has become desert, or where chemicals in the soil make it impossible for plants to grow, the land could take hundreds of years to restore, and the land cannot be forced to be productive, even with effective chemical fertilizers. This was only this would only work for several time, no, for a little time. However, if we can pay attention to the natural cycles, we can help to create the conditions that the soil needs to restore itself to a healthy and fertilized state. Next, please. Well, now that we have established this, we will we will now talk about two different projects. One that will talk about the remediation of an aquifer copula, and another about the remediation of soil. Next, please. Well, first we want to talk about the water reclamation and reuse project of the El Prat de Llobregat in Barcelona, Spain. This is an article made by R. Mujeriego, J. Comple, T. Cazurra, and M. Gullon. This was published in the year of 2008 by the magazine Iowa. Next. Well, the problematic. The intensive register in the final stretch of the Llobregat River during the last decades for German industrial and agricultural uses, together with the high density of the population, caused chronic quantitative and qualitative deficits of water. This added to the fact that at the time there were some terrible droughts. Next, please. The main objective of this project was to propose strategies, technical criteria, and managerial options that could be applied in other areas with similar geographical and hydrological conditions. This project described the objectives of the project, the rationale behind it, the infrastructure required for its credible implementation, and its economic and financial requirements. Next, please. Well, for reasons of time, I will not be able to mention all the methodologies that were used to solve this problem because there were like too many. But I will quickly mention the strategic points of which they were based to solve this problem. They focus on making modifications on water resource in the lower geography, water reclamation and reuse, water reclamation facilities, irrigation of water, pumping stations, and seawater intrusion barriers. Next, please. Well, now to conclude, because it was a project that was completed like several years ago, I gave myself the task of investigating if, if in truth the changes they made have been resolved to solve this problem. And from what I found, it was into the year of 2017 when they were able to begin to apply this project proposed. And today, the same strategies are still being used since they have worked for them. So, yes, it worked.
Well, now that we finish up with that project, let's keep going with the next one. This in particular is very interesting and very different from other ones. It's called the Theater project. I hope that I am pronouncing this right because it's from an idiom that I don't know. And the reason that it's very different is because it isn't from Mexico or United States, Germany, or other most popular countries. This one happens on Israel and is a groundbreaking initiative of a Bedouin community in the Negev desert, establishing a model of sustainable farm that leverages Bedouin traditional values. This project was initiated by the Sustainability Laboratory in partnership with the Jura Municipal Council, and it presents an integrated, holistic approach to development, relevant to the local community, to the region, and to the arid zones around the world. Because if this succeeds, it may be like a flag, like a symbol for other countries that, well, we can do something similar. And the core of the project includes an organic farming enterprise involving animal husbandry and the production of dairy products, cultivation of medical plants, and the development of a related line of health products, and the reintroduction of nutritious indigenous vegetables to common use. The project also includes a visitor, training, and educational center with a focus on ecology, sustainability innovation, and entrepreneurship. The project will be supported by an integrated infrastructure of green technologies, including a soil engagement program. That this is our main focus because, well, when we're talking about that in this presentation, but anything else we also mention it is very important because those things, if we don't take care of them, well, we can harm the soil. And then it will also have a solar energy and biogas production and of compost from organic waste, advanced irrigation management, and wastewater treatment and recycling. But now, let's keep going with the main problem, and it is that the 40-hectare site allocated to the project Guardia Tier has been subject to maximum levels of management for an unknown number of years. By repeated tilling and grazing without fertilizer inputs, fertility, or grazing management. All woody plants had already been removed from the area, possibly thousands of years ago. Consequently, the area displays a profound loss of soil and fertility and massive soil loss due to wind and water erosion. The erosion gained in width and length by several meters just during a few years of project planning. Updated by soil fertility analysis, all soil nutrients and soil organic matter are profoundly depleted. Consequently, biological productivity at the site was close to zero. Only a few animal species were able to thrive on the paysage before the project started. The true rain-fed productivity potential of the site has been revealed by comparing biological productivity of average areas to a highly fertile soil patch created by layer of livestock manure. The manure-treated patch displays about 10 times higher productivity than a nearby control area. This phenomenon has been observed unchanged for the last 6 years, indicating that the impact of one-time manure application results in permanent, long-term restoration of soil fertility. Then, what is the objective of this project? Well, they aim to achieve the maximal speed of soil restoration without application of fertilizers, because as you must know, some of them can be harmful or toxic in the long term. Maybe in the short term, they may seem helpful, but some of these chemical substances start degrading more and more and more the soil. So, the main objective is to restore biological productivity suited to the local climate by avoiding overgrazing and soil disturbances. Plants are able to accumulate and concentrate nutrients and carbon in that topsoil. Once the necessary amount of plant material if left on site, a cycle of soil recovery is automatically induced, enhancing soil nutrient fixation and soil organic carbon accumulation with the help of an increase in soil microbial life. This in turn enhances soil water infiltration and further stimulation of biological productivity, ultimately reaching the maximal productivity possible with regards to available water resources. By leaving litter from the planted trees together with chopped annual weed biomass, we have now created a significant layer of plant litter that will rapidly enhance soil water infiltrating and fertility to the maximum levels. But more of that we will see it next, because now the methodology. Well, the main step in the ecosystem restoration program was the remodeling of the topography in order to reduce water runoff and stop soil erosion. Massive soil erosion was stopped by filling erosion gullies and creating agroforestry terraces to curb destructive water runoff, while collecting water on site for tree growth. Large numbers of trees were planted in the terraces and linements, both for agricultural use and for soil restoration, erosion control, and windbreaks. The carefully selected mix of monthly and native dryland tree species are expected to provide a wide range of services, many of them essential for soil conservation and improvement. The rehabilitation of the dryland can be achieved, we have to remember that, by long-term conservation and the introduction of manure, application of fertilizer, seeds of replanting, or a combination thereof, requiring varying time spans and financial resources. Extensive research at different sites by the Watia Tier Scientific Advisory Team have contributed significantly to the development of the restoration of technologies now applied. Then, as part of the agroforestry and silviculture efforts, this project is planning to increase species contributing to a significantly improved soil quality, such as carob, Albizia legec, Acacia sp, and La Retama rhytam. The leaf and seed litter of these trees rapidly restores topsoil fertility, as demonstrated in recent research works. Furthermore, such hardly tree seedlings are able to stop further soil erosion by stabilizing erosion gullies. Well, now that we explored all those important aspects and details of the project, we should answer a very important question, and is, does it work? And the answer is yes, but we have to research more, and there is more to see. Why? Um, some analysis results are indicating that animals are rehabilitating in these places, and the green areas are growing bigger and bigger. But this isn't finished, and this project is still going on. So to see the final results, we should wait another months or even years so we can conclude well it was a success or not. Then to end up this project, we can say that the soil and water recovery and restoring methods are important techniques that we, as future environmental engineers, need to comprehend in order to apply them in local scenarios like one shown in this presentation. Improving the condition of those resources will benefit the environment and our development as society. Then we can see our references, and thank you. This is all for now. I hope you like this presentation, and we will see you later.